Well, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the first ever television series episode review series that I'm going to start doing regularly on my channel. And we're going to deal this round with the cult classic 90s whodunit mystery, paranormal thriller, oddball, quirky, one-of-a-kind show, Twin Peaks. One of my all-time favorites, one that I have watched many a time, and one that I have spent a good time also on the internet reading up on theories that people have about the show, investigating more into some of the themes and the influences of the show. And so, yeah, I mean, I've dedicated quite a bit of time to this show and everything related to it. Partly because it's an amazing show to begin with, and one of the best whodunits that you'll probably watch on TV. But it also takes place in my home state of Washington, in the Pacific Northwest, not DC. So yeah, it's kind of cool to be able to have a television show that's from your own neck of the woods. You know, kind of how Northern Exposure was also supposed to take place in Alaska, but it was actually filmed in Washington as well. Another cult to hit. So yeah, I figured might as well start with this since I know it so well. And the newly renewed third season will be coming out in May. I believe it's the 21st. And that's something that I'm very excited about, and I'll definitely be covering. But until then, I'm going to try to cover all of the episodes consisting of Season 1 and 2, which is the only seasons there were. And if I do have time, I will also, excuse me, will cover Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, which is essentially a prequel to the television story that was released after the show. All right, yeah, so enough for the intro. Let's get to it. I was going to talk about a few things that are kind of unique to the show, or what the show emphasizes, and maybe go over some pros and cons, because there are some downsides to the show. I mean, no show's perfect, and this one is no exception to that. But it is definitely, I would recommend, worth your while for those that are having a hard time finding anything good to watch on TV now, and haven't had the chance to watch the show, which I think is still, I'll have to check, but I'm pretty sure it's been on Netflix for a very long time. So I imagine that some streaming television movie type website will probably have it, and they had it in its entirety last time on Netflix, but that was a little bit ago, so we will have to see. All right. Well, anyway. After watching it so many times, I can kind of distill the particular elements of the show, some of the themes, and what kind of drew me to it, and what I find it so enjoyable about it. This will be spoiler-free. It's kind of the intro to the season review, and then I'll have an official episode 1 review coming up shortly that'll delve into that aspect of it. I didn't want to spend extra amount of time on the individual episodes talking about the bigger picture things and trivia and stuff like that. I just wanted to focus right on only what happens in the episode, get in, get out. So yeah, let's start. Well, one major concept that you'll find in Twin Peaks, which is something that David Lynch also covered in his movie Blue Velvet, which also stars Kyle MacLachlan, who is the main character in Twin Peaks. It's this idea that, because Twin Peaks is a small town, it's a blue collar town. The main industry there is a sawmill, so you can't get more blue collar than that unless you're a mining town. You've got your diner where everyone eats at. Everybody knows everyone else, that kind of thing. The small, tight-knit community where, people's lives, cross and paths frequently enough that, everyone gets to know everybody really close. And being that as that may, this is not always this presentation of everything being kind of, hunky-dory, leave it to Beaver, kind of a perfect and seemingly flawless and everybody's happy type, scenario that sometimes we get, the quaintness, I should say, of small town America, whether it's in the Northwest or in the Midwest, is not is a bit of a facade or a mask to say, and that there's plenty that can go on beneath the surface. The evil, the sinister, the terrifying, the unexplained, the paranormal. It can all exist underneath the surface of what would seem like a place that had no really unique qualities to it. And is like Twin Peaks is, like I said, a simple blue collar town. But so that was something he delved into, David Lynch, that is in Blue Velvet, and we've revisited it in this show, and it's a major theme. All the people, it seems, just like us, mere mortals in real life, we all have our secrets. We also present ourselves to the outside world at times as not necessarily who we might really be in our private lives, or who we envision ourselves in, inside of our own minds. So there's a lot of people that present themselves in one way, but they have a lot to hide. And this is which makes for such a good murder mystery, because, that makes everyone a potential suspect, and because they're trying to hide what secrets or what things they may have done related to the main case or not, they're going to try to cover that up or protect themselves, which can lead to plenty of stumbling blocks or obstacles for the law enforcement team headed by FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper with the local law enforcement to try and solve the case. So yeah, that's definitely one thing you'll want to keep in mind, is things are not always as they appear, and this goes to multiple levels, even into the realm of the subconscious. And that brings me to the next topic on here, is which is something that I really like about it, and it was probably what really helped to elevate it above your typical detective series or murder mystery scenario. Gave it that little bit of uniqueness, freshness, and just all around added dimension. And that is the inclusion of the supernatural. And it definitely takes place in multiple forms in this series. You have psychic phenomenon, kind of not necessarily clairvoyance and telepathy, but nothing that concrete, but some almost like some people are capable of having visions, possibly of future events or things or past events. So there's psychically sensitive people that exist within Twin Peaks. You also have the concept of possession, which I won't go into too much because I don't want to give things away. But let's say there is that possible, outside force that takes different forms that, is also present within Twin Peaks that plays actually quite a major role in what goes on. But it's not typically what you would think of possession, let's just say. You have dreams. Dreams play a huge part in not only the show, but in thematically in a lot of David Lynch's films, the exploration of the subconscious, of dreams. I mean, they're everywhere, and I'm personally very interested in dreams and dream analysis and anything revolved around that aspect, because it's such a that's want to talk about a world of mystery and intrigue and possibilities. The way dreams are represented in this show definitely explores a lot of that, and the ability of dreams to have an actual impact on our waking world. and especially in Twin Peaks. And you get clues along the way through dreams as well that might help you to figure out the case before old Dale Cooper does. You never know. Some of you are probably pretty sharp. You also have this concept, kind of the Jungian concept of the shadow self. Again, I won't get into that too much, but it's present there, and that also kind of goes along with the different sides of people. What they present to the world and what may be lurking beneath the surface that may not be, as nice or pleasant as how they would like you to view them. So like I said, there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. It really is emphasized to kind of give you this idea that Twin Peaks it's a strange place. There's something odd about it in that general area of that place. And there's, like I said, it's a lot of woodland area around it. So there's a lot of, kind of creepy, spooky places around that are surrounding it. And so yeah, you get this impression that there's something just about Twin Peaks that's just not quite right. Something's going on here, specifically focused on this place, where like I said, the supernatural and the paranormal is also kind of having an influence and interacting with it, almost like it's an element of, almost like like water or wind or something. It's just almost like this existing element that's always been there. And that is referenced to in the show, but I'll just leave it at that. And thirdly, what really, I think, separates Twin Peaks from a lot of more standard dramas is that all aspects of the creative process, the music choices, the dialogue, the way scenes are filmed, and this cast of all these just from the eccentric to the kind of the plain normal person. I mean, you've got people that are just way out there, seemingly way out there, and just outright crazy. But and then you've got your average diner waitress or whatever that's living a very boring and humble life, day in and day out, working just to make ends meet. So yeah, there's just, you get this whole range of different characters, and they all are engaging. I feel they're used well, and you definitely get especially because of the way Dale Cooper, his personality, the character, really he starts to really bond with a lot of these people because he's got this very optimistic, I'll just say very optimistic kind of view of the world and wants to see goodness in things. So his odd methods of problem solving, and as well as his personality being a little kind of over the top and very unique in its own way, draws people to him. And I think it's what makes the character so great. These people start to trust him and start to kind of share more about what's going on and open up and whatnot. And yeah, and there's a lot of likable characters. I think as you watch the show, you'll start to really have make a more of a connection with them, and kind of when they go through hard times, kind of might upset you a little bit, and so which is good. It means that these characters are believable, certainly are believable, and the way they're portrayed is gives them a sense of realism. Because they're just, a lot of them are just your average folks, and people you could find all over the place, and just happen to have been born and raised and grown up in this unique area called Twin Peaks. So yeah, when the music and the dialogue and the way that things are filmed, it'll kind of keep you off kilter, and it may seem actually really strange or silly at times, even kind of like it's a goof in a way, but it's purposely done that way. It's just, and it's David Lynch, so if you're not familiar with his style and the way of storytelling, it may be a little bit off-putting, but you'll get used to it because it'll become so commonplace in a lot of ways that, it won't, things like, a certain, piece of music or, certain dialogue or a way someone plays a certain scene where they, there's certain places where there's a lot of, very melodramatic, almost silly reactions to things. But it's like I said, it's all meant to kind of keep you, a little bit, not on edge, but just a little bit out of your comfort zone, or so you're not settled in too much, because there's all this kind of weird stuff going on. Like I said, it's a reason why it was kind of a cult classic, because of all this, kind of quirky stuff that people weren't used to with television. Because you took somebody that had, kind of, more of an independent film type history, even though he did direct Dune, which was a flop. So I don't know if that really counts, and brought his his creative process and his ideas and his way of presenting things into what would considered a mainstream television show, and the results are great. Like I said, the main case, which goes from all of the first season into several episodes into the second season. Even if you just watch that and walk away, you'll be satisfied with how everything plays out. All the loose ends are tied up. Everything's explained well. There's not really, even though there is the supernatural element in it, it's not really used as a Deus Ex Machina type thing. There isn't, leaps of logic or whatever where you have to suspend disbelief. It plays itself out. It's very nuanced, very well written. You get your certain characters that you're just, you're certain that they had something to do with it, and it kind of weaves you around and takes you off on these side tracks and everything. And then, like I said, it wraps it up really well, and it's got some shocks in there, and some some pretty crazy kind of moments, especially when you get into some of the dream sequences and whatnot that happen. So yeah, that was my I guess my argument towards why Twin Peaks was such a success, and why I think people like yourself that are listening to this would and really enjoy taking a look at it and giving it a chance. You're not going to find anything like it. Now, as far as this type of show, and it was an original. Like I said, came out in like I don't know if it was the tail end of the 80s into the early 90s, or if it was like 90, 91. I can't remember exactly. So yeah, it was a long time ago. Like I said, it's the I think it's like the 25th anniversary last year, possibly. So, because in the year 25 year span has a significance within that notion, has a significance within the story itself, in a minor spot, but it kind of makes it kind of cool that they just decided around, now we're starting to really get into formulating the third season, and it's a go. So yeah, I recommend it. Like, so especially if you've got Netflix and you can find it on there. It couldn't hurt. Try it out, see if you like it. But I will say one thing more before I go into some of the critique of it. Is Twin Peaks, it was filmed near North Bend, if I recall correctly, which is Northwest Washington, the actual site of the the Evergreen State part of the side, because Eastern Washington's a different story. But geographically on the map, Twin Peaks is supposed to be located in the northeast corner of Washington State, by the Idaho border and Canada. So that will throw you off, because North Bend is not, northeastern Washington does not look like that. But I guess for the story and where it was situated was necessary for the story to be told. So yeah, you'll think you're visually you're in Northwest Washington, but you're actually up in the northeast corner. If you want to look on a map, it'll just so that's actually where you're located. So that's not what it actually looks like in the northeast of the state. But yeah, let's see, critique of it. The biggest issue with Twin Peaks is after you get through the initial run, the initial main case where you're trying, the mystery surrounding Laura Palmer and what happened to her. You start to get a loss in quality, or let's just say a bit of a inconsistency in quality from episode to episode. And I think it's because Lynch and I think, is it Mark Frost? I think he's they're the two main creative heads, were less involved. I think David Lynch was much more involved in the original, the first story, I guess you can consider it, hands-on. I'm not sure. I mean, he was on set more. I'm not sure if I'm assuming he directed most of the episodes. But after that, in the second season, you get a lot of kind of like what you have now, where you'll get individual people that will come in and they'll direct one episode, which happens in shows like Dexter and I think Sopranos as well. So that's not anything that's all that unusual. But when it's when it's Lynch's brainchild and and he's got his own unique style, you've got people there that are maybe they're trying to emulate what he's doing, or they're trying to do something else that doesn't necessarily work as well. But yeah, so you keep that in mind. And also, once all that you have all the big reveals, and characters have different characters in the story have gone through their development. They've there's not a lot of static characters. Everyone seems to go through some kind of a development and a progression in their personality or their life events. Things happen to them that changes their lives, to a certain extent. So they are dynamic in that sense. But once you know a lot of what they're about, their secrets, what they kept hidden, because all this stuff comes out as the case is being solved. Where do you go from there? Other than you get these situations where you get these sidetracks with characters that old and ones that are introduced into the series that are okay for a few minutes to deal with, but eventually they kind of become a little bit stale, or they become kind of uninterested or uninteresting, compared to when you were just getting to know them. So that's another part of it. It draws out. I mean, the season 2 is fairly long. I will say that the last episode of the second season, the finale of Twin Peaks, as it were then, or was then, is awesome. Like I said, that the final episode is awesome. The ending is awesome. Complete shocker. So it'll definitely throw you for a loop. And also the main difference between I'll differentiate it between like the Laura Palmer case and what comes after, because obviously it's not just season 1 and season 2, because the Laura Palmer case goes into into the beginning of season 2. But essentially you have this, you're trying to find out who the person was, did this to her. So that person, there's it's a mystery person. You don't know exactly who it is, and you're trying to figure it out. So there's all this presence of this, somebody that committed a horrible crime is out and about in the community, or is one that, is hiding among the people there, and you don't know it. Whereas in the second case, I guess you could call it, though it's not necessarily as like an official case, the antagonist is present and you know who this person is and how they're moving around, and you see them from constantly they're popping up everywhere. So it's kind of a different thing. It's more, I think, entertaining and more enjoyable when you don't know who it is until the very end, when you get that surprise. Even though the actor that plays the antagonist in the second part of the 2 seasons does a great job. I mean, he's a memorable character, and he has some good chemistry with another person that is one of those that does kind of a 180 flip when it comes to their personality, and so there's a bit of chemistry there. And this character is, morbid sense of humor, evil, and has a past with the protagonist Dale Cooper. So it has its ups and downs. So don't be surprised if you kind of it takes a while to get going on the second part of it. But yeah, my advice would be watch the Laura Palmer case from beginning to its conclusion, and then go back and actually watch Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me, which is like I said, the prequel movie. But watch it knowing this, that it's far darker and far more graphic in its depictions, of sex and violence. So it's 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 an R-rated film, a hard R, I would say. So keep that in mind, because obviously the TV series was evening television, but not even barely PG-13, if at that. So yeah, if you're used to that and then you watch Twin Peaks, like I said, the movie, it's darker. It's way darker in how it's presented, but I actually prefer it being that dark, and I'm hoping that level of darkness, I guess you say, for lack of a better term, is what we'll be getting in season 3, because it's on Showtime. So it's on premium channel. It's that same channel that Dexter was on. So they can do that more adult-ish content. So yeah, that would be my advice. That's kind of my overview of Twin Peaks so far. Hopefully that gives you enough information without revealing too much. I'll look forward to doing the season and getting your feedback, and hopefully it'll add to your enjoyment and understanding of the show as it goes on. And I imagine I'll try to minimize spoilers for upcoming episodes when I'm doing it, just, obviously. But I mean, you should go into these individual reviews of the different episodes with the assumption that there may be some kind of spoiler. But I'll try to do my best. Like I said, I'll go back and listen over it and skim through it and make sure with a fine-tooth comb that there isn't anything that's gonna ruin it, because like I said, it's kind of like a one and done. Once you know how the case ends, that's your only chance to view it. So I don't want to ruin it for anybody, because I would feel like an asshole if I did that. All right, but I should have the episode 1 review up sometime this weekend. So look forward to doing it, and I hope you enjoy it when it comes out. All right, until next time, everybody, take care.